tell you what, it's worth it all. So that's another definition. Whatsoever is not of faith is sin. And another definition is sin is to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. That's the fourth definition of sin. To him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not. You know, God is going to hold us responsible if we don't do what God tells us to do. He wants us to obey Him. Obedience is better than sacrifice. I mean, you know, it's just as wrong. It's just as wrong to not do what God is doing, telling you to do. We think that doing wrong is sin, and it is, but not doing what's right is sin also. Not doing what's right is sin also. So it's a sin to you to know the truth and not obey the truth. These people knows the truth. They've heard the truth preached to them, but they don't obey the truth. So that's what sin is. Now, what's the effects of sin? What's the effects of it? First of all, sin separates. Sin separates. It'll separate a husband and a wife. You see what happens between a husband and a wife? The Bible said when a man sins, he's drawn away with his own lust and enticed. That's what the Bible said. I believe James says that, doesn't it? He's drawn away with his own lust and enticed. That's what happens. He's got that sin in his heart, and when he's drawn away with that lust, if he's lusting after another woman or another man, or if he's lusting after the things of this world, money or whatever it is that he's enticed with, that's sin. That's sin. And it will cause him to leave his wife. It'll cause him to leave his husband. It'll cause him to do things it'll break God's law. So it separates people. It separates people. It separates a man from his children or a woman from their children. You know, because of greed. You know, greed enters into a person's heart, and they're more interested in making money, or they're more interested in their self than they are their children. There's people like that. They're more interested. So greed and selfishness and these things like this are caused, and that's sin. That's sin. If I do what I want to do, then I've sinned against God. You see what I'm saying? If I live my life the way I want to live it, that's sin against God. I can't live my life the way I want to live it in the flesh. If I do, I'm sinning against God, and I don't want to sin against God. I want to live according to God's Word. The Bible said we're begotten by the Word, and Jesus said we live by the Word, not bread alone, not by the natural things of this world is what we're supposed to live for, but we're supposed to live for the spiritual things that God has given us, and He's given us plenty of them. So sin separates a person from his church. It causes people to, what happens when people are separated from the church? I believe pride enters in. Pride enters into their life. And, some people, they want to hold on to tradition. They want to hold on to tradition. And they got their feelings on their shirt sleeves. And, that's what happens. They got that pride in their life, and they wear their feelings on their shirt sleeve. Church is about putting God first. It's not about putting you first or me first. Church is all about God. It's all about worshiping Him. It's all about serving Him. This life that we're living down here is all about God. If we're going to live a Christian life, it's going to be about God, or it won't be at all. It can't be about us. It can't be about our pride. It can't be about our tradition. It can't be about our feelings. I mean, we've got to swallow our pride. Jesus did His, did He not? He humbled Himself, and the Bible said, and became obedient, even to the death of the cross. You see, what we've got to do, we've got to humble ourselves and say, God, I want to do Your will. I want to serve You. I'm not going to let my feelings stand in in the way of me serving you or going to church or worshiping you. I'm going to keep working for you. And people, they let things come between them and God. So sin, brother, it separates people. And not only that, but sin steals. It steals. First of all, it steals your peace. It steals your peace there. And when we sin against God and against the truth of His Word, you know what happens? We feel guilty, don't we? Adam and Eve was in good harmony before they sinned. They had peace in their heart. But when they sinned against God, they run out there and they hid themselves and tried to sew fig leaves together to make them aprons to hide themselves. They realized they'd done wrong. Yeah. And they were guilty. They had no peace. And so that's what happens when a person goes out and does wrong.